Good morning, good morning. My wife and I picked up the older two boys from the airport last night, Pittsburgh Airport. They just flew in from San Diego, staying with my in-laws, my wife's sister. So Steph and Thomas are great hosts. They flew in with their cousin Josh. So Jonathan and Jared and Josh flew to San Diego, spent a week there, did the Six Flags. That's my burrito. So they did the Six Flags, went to the beach, had a great time. So Steph and Thomas have two boys, Thomas and Theodore Bolt, and the boys had a great time with them. They are always gracious hosts, great entertainers, and when I go to San Diego, I get one of these. This is from Super Sergio's. This is a Berto's burrito. It's a breakfast burrito. And this was in San Diego yesterday. And I was looking forward to having this for breakfast. Anyways, point of this video. It's not about burritos. It's not about San Diego. It's about maple sugar. And how did we get here? Well, we were originally looking to purchase a maple operation in Michigan. It was one of the largest in Michigan. And I learned something through this process, that just because a mortgage or note is transferable, it doesn't necessarily mean the bank needs to or wants to do it. So the interest rate in which this property was purchased under was very low. Interest rates went up. Magically, this bank found we weren't a viable a viable customer. It's a version of farm credit. And I understand why. It's because their money's sitting there tied up in a mortgage on real estate that is generating 2.5%, and interest rates are at 8%. So as much as I wanted to make the deal, we couldn't. I feel bad for the landowners because their bank basically screwed them. And Javier said, "Don't go any higher," and I did. I went up $500,000 actually. And when the landowner said no, it was a relief. And I'll be honest, part of that deal was them carrying some of the risk, which I didn't see as risk because of our growth. However, I understand the position. I'm not upset about it. It was actually a relief when they said no. I even said it. I'm like, that's kind of a relief. I think a little bit of it is I paid for the sins of the past. You know, the prior two people probably burned out. The prior two potential buyers burned those guys out. And that's understandable. I am and we are the right company to purchase that property, but I think that ship sailed. It's being taken out of me, right or wrong, it doesn't matter. But during that process, that particular operation once had a maple sugar contract in which they made maple sugar for two companies in Wisconsin. And that business had been lost. And I asked them, I said, "Do you care if I go talk to this company during the negotiations?" Because obviously this cash flow would be important to this operation, to this business we were going to purchase. And they did not have a problem with it. I mean, there was nothing to lose. They didn't have the business anymore. So we went and talked to them and talked to the purchasing agent and said, "Hey, we'd like to do this." And they were like, "Yeah, this makes sense. Sure, we'll give you a shot." In between that time and the first order, we had lost the opportunity to purchase. Like I said, deals break. I will obviously go farther than I should, but sometimes deals break down, and that's just the way it goes. I'd wanted to purchase it, but it ended up being, sometimes the best deal you make is the one you don't make. So we had found the employees there were willing to come into Ohio and show us how they did the sugar, and that was helpful. But where was I? This sugar was being produced for two other companies that were acting as a middleman for the end user. And one of them actually had a contract with that farm and said, hey, you're not allowed to sell to them. We have a contract. And the owners were like, if Nate buys it, this contract's, first of all, already outdated. And through the acquisition, if we purchase the assets and not the brand or the business, that's typically how a deal's done. So you don't own any liabilities from the prior company. Anyways, that was that competitor's way of, competing, was to try to legally stop us. And there was zero chance of that. It's kind of laughable, but also telling about what their, methods are. If I had known how difficult maple sugar was at the beginning, I probably would not have pursued this. It has been painful. We learned from farmers how to make sugar, which, come to find out, in the industrial food world, how maple farmers make sugar would not be acceptable. There's moisture specs that are necessary, especially for water activity and shelf stability. So all of the people who spent time teaching us how to do it actually taught us the wrong way to do it. Still appreciative, still thankful, but we didn't stop. We kept going. So the first order got rejected, as you see in the prior video, because of a moisture spec that we weren't aware of, and it didn't quite transfer from the prior quality manager at that customer. So the customer's been great. They basically said, hey, keep the check. They paid us for it. Like, keep the check. Get it on the next one. We went and picked that order up, brought it back, and we learned that we had to cook maple syrup at a much higher temperature to make it as dry as possible. So we made the adjustment. Then we had other issues. We had augers. Basically, the seals fail and plastic go into sugar. That was a fun one. So we had to hand sift about 17,000 pounds of maple sugar through I call it like a tambourine. I mean, it's basically a tambourine. So we had all hands on deck. Order was ready, and somebody found that there was some plastic. So we literally had to go through and comb every pound of maple sugar, and we sifted all the plastic out. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but the customer's been patient. We've basically learned all of the things not to do, and at this point, through all that pain, we have come up with a way to make maple sugar that is a continuous process, that is nothing like anyone's doing. It's sheer luck. It's sheer coincidence with my background, with choosing maple, with the people that I have at our facility that worked at a powder manufacturer, titanium dioxide, starting with a block of raw ore, moving it through a process that includes chlorine and they call it tickle, and moving it to a slurry. It's the whitest substance on earth, titanium dioxide. It's in everything. It's in toothpaste, powdered donuts, anything that has pigment, so paint. It's a very reflective material. And then obviously the white powder, and how you move rail cars and super sacks of white powder actually transfers pretty well to maple sugar. And we've had some challenges, and by having all that pain, we've learned how to be better. Again, sometimes with entrepreneurs, the fire aim ready works, but it's by accident. And it's just sheer determination that we keep going. That's what we're doing. And the customer basically said, hey, you guys have had enough mistakes. We're going to take a timeout for a while. And it wasn't something that we had planned for in our cash flow. So there's about 2-month gap of orders that we had to get our crap together. And we had put a plan together and said, hey, we're going to get this done, change some things, try this new innovation. It's intellectual property. This process may be more valuable than our entire company by the time we're done, which is great. So what we're doing is we had planned out a process, some specialty equipment needed ordered, some all sorts of cool things. I don't really want to give it away. There's very little I don't put on YouTube for Maple, and someday I will, and believe me, the temptation's there because I have a big ego. I mean, let's be honest. I want to put it on YouTube so people can just say, wow, that Nate Bissell, he's a smart guy. And I do really want to do that because I'm not just a pretty face, folks. There is something between my ears, and I really want to show it off so people can say, wow. And it is innovative, and it will change the maple industry. But I don't want to teach my competitors how to make maple sugar better. That's just, I could patent the process, and the thing about patenting the process, which I've learned in our barrel aging process, Bob Herberger's our patent attorney. He's awesome. He's taught me a lot. He was a prior chemical engineer turned lawyer, and basically said, Nate, the equipment that you're all developing is awesome. It's great, but if we patent it, we're actually divulging it to everybody. So if somebody builds your piece of equipment, sticks it in a building with no windows, and keeps to themselves and makes the product, there's really nothing you can do to protect it. So you'll basically divulge how to do that. Same here. This process, if we were to divulge it, it would just teach everybody how to do it, and just some slight changes, and voila, you're no longer violating a patent. As much as I want to patent these, and maybe I should, just so I can say, I'm a patent holder. You know, a couple patents. I've had some in the past, but it's more a story than it is valuable in all reality, at least from a process standpoint. So, back to the maple sugar process. Something unique happened. Jim, our sales rep, talked to the customer, and they said, look, considering all the discussions we have, this is going to be an awkward request, but can you get us 10,000 pounds by next Friday? Now, I thought I had 8 weeks to do this. Now I have like 3 or 4 days, and it's going to take a lot of coordination. And the interesting thing about Nate Bissell, myself, talking in the third person, is I am built for wartime. If it's wartime, you want me there. You want me on your lap. But if it's peacetime, you want me in another country. And the reason is if there's no war or battle to fight, I'll get bored and I will create one. And that's not fair to my team. I will find a reason or a method to entertain myself. And I'll make war. And it's not fair. So I stay out of my team's hair until there's an opportunity like this. A manager's job is to convince somebody to do something they don't want to do. A leader's job is to convince somebody that the impossible is possible. In my team's mind, they're probably thinking, how are we going to do that? We make 2,000 pounds a day, then we have to cool it and sift it the next day, and we have this process in place that it's worked, sort of, but it needs some fine-tuning. I have not been able to give it the attention it deserves, and, you know, to my team, I am sorry, but this pain actually led to some innovation. So what we're going to do is over the next few days, we're going to more than quintuple our production output. The quality will be better, and the product will be way more consistent, and our customers are going to probably love this because we've messed up a lot. This is a long-winded way of saying, yeah, we've got some stuff to do, and I'm pretty proud of it. Like, I'm pretty proud of this process, and we need the team to get together, come together, and make it happen. This is not going to be a typical 8-hour day week. It's going to be hard. We'll get through it. We'll get the order completed. We'll probably have to deliver it ourselves, which is a 14-hour drive, and make sure that the customer gets what it is they want and need. And I'm excited. We thought the door had been closed. We knew there was a crack, especially with the new innovation we came up with. And thank you to the customer who's been patient in helping us to develop this. it's actually going to pay dividends. It's going to be so valuable that, I can see a joint venture or some sort of partnership in the future because it's that valuable. And that innovative, it's lower cost processing, it's faster, and it will be consistent. It takes a lot of variables out of the equation of making sugar, and that's the key. So I'm excited. This week we're going to make it. We're going to process and box 5,000 pounds in a day, which my team probably wonders how we're going to do, but we're going to do it. And it's going to be easier on us in the long run. It's going to be harder up front, but in the long run, this will be easy. Again, if I had known it would be this painful, I probably wouldn't have done it, which would have been the wrong decision. So humans are weird. We often, you're not weird. I mean, it's normal. We avoid pain. We have a bad experience with an employee, so we just don't hire people again. And that's the wrong decision often. The real secret is you need to be willing to get your heart broken over and over and over, or you'll never fall in love. That's the key. So this is an overnight success story, 25 years in the making. We have a great team. We have a ton of opportunity. We are fortunate to be in Ohio. It is a complete blessing. The cost of living is lower. Transportation's better. Buildings are lower cost. The Northeast certainly has some advantages with the crop being right there readily available, but that's also why we're redefining how bulk syrup moves around the country. We think we can pull out about 5 cents a pound in the current process, and within 3 years, we will not have drums in our facility. That is what I consider bondage on the farmer. It's an unnecessary expense. It's currently the way maple syrup is traded because it went from the old galvanized barrels to drums to now stainless steel and some epoxy line 55s. And as I've analyzed it, the totes became a valuable thing to farmers because it allowed them to process syrup easier, faster, and it's a logical step. Drums, 40-gallon stainless Baranox, then it moves to the 55s, then to the totes, and then the obvious next step is tankers. Like, why not? It's logical. It's, that's the future. And drums were just a necessary stopgap. I'm fairly certain that the process we're developing will be copied. And that's okay, because in the end, it's going to make it lower cost for the consumer. Anyways, thanks for spending a little time with me. Super Sergio's. This is, obviously has a couple bites out of it, Jared. But it is ham, egg, cheese, potato on an amazing, amazing tortilla. If you ever go to San Diego, this is worth the trip. Super Sergio's, Berto's Burrito. Thanks for stopping by. Catch you in the next episode.